So you launched an Amazon FBA product and maybe you made a mistake. So your product is no longer selling and you want to liquidate. So how do you go about liquidating? In this video, I'm going to show you what you need to do to liquidate your product. Let's go. Hi, it's me, Karina. Welcome back to my Amazon FBA channel. So today's video, I'm going to be telling you exactly what you need to do in order to liquidate your product, which essentially means getting it out of Amazon. Because if you let your product sit into Amazon warehouse for too long, over 6 months, then you're going to be susceptible to paying long-term storage fees, and that's not fun because that's how you really begin to lose profit. In the beginning, when you launch your product, your storage fees could be zero or very, very little, which is a very minuscule amount that's not really going to do anything for you. However, the dangers of just not selling your product in a long period of time could get you into the long-term storage fees. So you really want to make sure that you know exactly what you're doing with your product before you reach that 6-month period. It is okay to try and sell it as fast as you can, or try different methods of trying to liquidate it throughout those 6 months. But trust me, you never want to let your product sit in the warehouse longer than 6 months, because you are really going to be cutting into your profit margins even if your product does end up selling. So what do you do then? Say you went ahead, you launched an Amazon product and you thought it was going to do better than it was. And now you're stuck in a predicament where you have many units and you are not sure what to do with them. Well, before we even get to the part of liquidating it and the best way to kind of get as much money back as possible, I want to let you know that Amazon FBA is a lower risk business model. And the way I teach my students is that they are able to start with a lower MOQ and really do risk analysis, so they don't have to invest as much money into their first starting products. Then when you get the hang of the business model, you can feel more confident and, order large MOQs, especially if your product already prove to be selling. But you don't necessarily have to order thousands of units when you're first beginning, because you never truly know if it's going to sell. You can do all the research you want, but in the end of the day, it can still not sell. And a lot of things could be responsible for that. There could be a changing market, or maybe, competition got to you. Maybe your reviews aren't up to par. Maybe the market is just much more competitive than you thought and people are doing other ways in order to get ahead in the niche. However, that should not stop you. I always recommend just starting small with smaller MOQs and testing and seeing how you can sell the product in an organic way, and also of course with PPC, which is the launch strategy that I like to teach, because you are actually getting organic sales and actual customer data when you're using PPC. There's no fakeness to it, and you know if your product is actually doing well. And before we go to the rest of this video, I want to let you guys know that I post daily videos, so you should definitely subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell. And I also put together a product research guide for you down below if you want to download that, which will help you in your product research if you are trying to look for a new product and if you happen to be liquidating this one, so you want to get ahead and find your next one. So the second thing I want to address, besides the fact that Amazon FBA is a safe, more safer business model than everything else, is how do you actually find your Amazon product? What did you do wrong in order to get your item to the state where it needs liquidation? And it's okay, everybody makes mistakes, and it's not per se a mistake, it's a learning experience, and there is trial and error even with this business model, and even I have had failing products, and that's okay. The most important thing is you know where to pivot and go from there, and most of the time it could be an issue with product research, or maybe your launch strategy, or something went wrong in the market analysis. And those are typically the three most kind of common issues that lead people to make a mistake with their product. Number one being, of course, their product research. That is why I put together the product research sheet for you. So, okay, let's move on to the main topic, is how do you actually liquidate a product? The first thing is you want to try to see if you can, of course, sell it at your normal price and see how much you can get for it. If you've really tried all the launch strategies and you just notice that the market is changing or your product just isn't how you thought it was, yes, it's time to liquidate before you get to that 6-month period. And that is very, very important. Any product you have, you never want to leave it in the warehouse, like I mentioned, for longer than 6 months, because even if you are selling, but selling at really infrequent volumes, you're still going to be losing money, and that's something you obviously do not want. So there's one really easy suggestion to start to try to liquidate your product to see how much money you can get back, and that is trying to sell your item at break-even cost. Say you invested $3,000 into your product, and of course you want to get some money back, and your initial goal was to obviously profit from this, but now you're finding that you cannot do it. So what I suggest you do is lower your price to break even. Now, when you are starting this business model, I never suggest you to engage in a price war with all the top sellers on the Amazon first page, because that's not going to give longevity to your product. However, when you are in a situation like this, sometimes a price war is what you need to do in order to get your money back for your product. So the number one thing is try to sell it at break-even price. So for example, if it costs you $15, that's including shipping and everything else, to land your product in the Amazon warehouse. And of course, after you subtract all the Amazon fees, such as the fulfillment fee and the packing and the shipping fee, which Amazon charges, plus the 15% of the item price that Amazon also charges. So after you subtract all those fees, your shipping cost and your actual product cost, you get what's called your break-even price, which is the price that is the bare minimum you have to sell it for in order to break even and not lose any money. Of course, you want to see first how far you can take it with still trying to make profits, even if it's just $1 or $2. And if that doesn't work, then really put your price at break-even cost. Then that is the bare minimum you're gonna sell without losing money. And if that doesn't work, I really suggest pricing it even lower just to get a portion of the money back. Now, I know sometimes of course you want to make a profit, or of course you don't want to lose any money, but then some products it's very difficult. So it really comes to that conclusion of if you want to just pull your product out and just have a bunch of inventory sitting, or you can just sell it and lose a little bit of money. So say you invested $3,000 and you are able to get $2,000 back because you're selling at a very, very low price, and that's why people are buying, then perhaps you can do that. And at least even though you're losing $1,000, at least you're still like getting back $2,000, and that's of course better than nothing. That's one way you can do it. Another way is just by pulling your products completely out of Amazon. Sometimes when you try to liquidate your product and you are still approaching that 6-month period and you're noticing that you're not getting any sales volume or with even the lowest possible price, it's really time to fulfill those orders to yourself. So what you want to do is go to the drop down on your product and really there's going to be an option there that's going to say send the item back to you, which is creating a removal order, and that is very inexpensive to do. It's about 10 cents, or if you want to ship it to you, it's 50 cents. That's called a fulfillment order, but always go with the removal order. It's very, very inexpensive. You just can bulk send all these items to yourself, and if you have a lot of units, maybe the 10 cents will add up, but honestly, don't even think about it. Just remove the item, send it to you, or maybe it's 50 cents. Actually, I'm not exactly sure. I haven't had to do this in a while, but it's very, very cheap. I don't remember. I know when you create a fulfillment order, it's more, they take away the fees and everything, but if you create a removal order, it's much, much less expensive, and I really suggest doing that into your address, so at least you're going to have the inventory sitting at your house and you can do whatever you want with it. You can try to flip it on other platforms such as eBay or a garage sale, or maybe just if it's a cool item, maybe you can gift that item to friends and family for the upcoming years, or donate it. You can do several things to it, but the reason I'm mentioning this is because you really don't ever want to let your items sit in the Amazon warehouse for longer than 6 months. that's going to be a recipe for the disaster. And if it hasn't sold in 6 months, it's probably not going to sell later on unless it's a seasonal item. And if you really want to give it a go and make improvements, you can recall the inventory, make modifications, and then send it back when you are ready with the partner carriers that Amazon has with UPS and FedEx. And trust me, that's going to be much less expensive for you than just having it sit there for the 6 months until the season strikes again. So no matter what, the takeaway is, don't let your items sit in the warehouse for longer than 6 months, because those fees are really going to cost you so much money. You're not going to be happy. And just try your best to at least get a portion of your money back. And then, you know, it also comes down to how much time do you want to spend trying to sell this product. So maybe you don't necessarily want to flip it or do certain things, you just want to focus your attention onto the new product. But basically, don't dwell on it, just keep on going, keep on doing the product research for your next products. There are many out there, and I created, like I mentioned, a sheet for you down below, a guide that you can just download that will help you with your product research, and you can just move on to the next one. So all the links that I mentioned are down below. Happy hunting, thanks for watching, I'll see you in my next video.